Hello, my name is EstebanSoto and I'm the level designer of this level. This map was created under 2 weeks and then 3 days of polish. So why did I choose Shadowrun Return Hong Kong? I wanted to learn and train myself on doing story-based level design and enhance the overall story. I picked Shadowrun Hong Kong because of this, as the game editor would provide me with enough tools to create conversations, events, triggers, and combat. So to do this I needed a story for my level. So I created a story about a contractor who provides smaller jobs to bigger jobs to anyone that was interested. This way I could create a small storyline. Kill one enemy, then return to the same place. This setup would give me enough time to polish on a few characters and who the enemy is, while also reusing 1/3 of the area I had created. This is because you had to go back to the contractor at the end of the stage, making it a natural hub area. It also gave me control to expand upon my level if needed or to shorten it down. Pacing. As I was designing all of the rooms, I always had in mind the dramatic curve. I wanted to add it to my level design, always thinking about it. The dramatic curve consists of exposition, rising action, crisis, climax, falling action, and then the announcement. I let the dramatic curve guide the pacing of the encounters. So, for instance, I wanted the exposition for the player. Introduction to the world, so to say. So that is why the player doesn't start right in the office with the contractor. I'm setting the pace by having this long corridor and then this door until the player encounters the contractor. Then when you have talked to the contractor, I'm escalating a little bit because you're learning more of the story. Then you go back through the corridor and leave the area and go to the bar. I give a small breathing room for the player there to recollect the information on what they have experienced. That is why I put in a loading screen here. This gives also a sense of time has passed for the player, so it helps build up even more the pace. So when the player arrives at the bar, it feels like she or he had actually left somewhere and gone for a while and then come back. When the player enters the bar, I give the player some more room to breathe. So to take in the new setting. When the player then confronts the bar owner, it takes a few seconds to read through the dialogue. This starts building up slowly the tension again, as the player goes back and into the story and get more details on what is going on. The player is then presented with a key to go down to the basement. The player knows now that it's going to encounter the enemy down in the basement. So the tension is building up even more. When the player goes down to the basement, they are confronted with a door and a small corridor. This is to build the tension. The player knows the enemy is probably behind this door. When the player is almost in front of the door, I activate a bubble box that comes behind the door, even further saying, the enemy is right behind this door. You're going to have a combat situation. This is to build up for the climactic combat. This is supposed to go from this is your storyline and walking around to now it's combat phase, to make a big difference. After the combat is over, I let the player have a lot of breathing room, as the player can slowly go through the rooms back and recollect what they have been through. When they return to get the reward from the contractor, I let the player decide if they want to just leave or to stay and listen to more of the storyline. Depending on what the player chooses, The outcome is the same, but it gives the player a different set of pacing into the next event. The betrayal event. If the player just left right away, the tension is over. The player feels safe and sound and feel like, okay, roll the credits. But then as it's in the safe zone, I activate the betrayal event as it's going through the corridor a last time, leaving the area, or believing that the player was leaving the area. I rise up the tension right away, giving an impression of what is happening. Isn't it over? Because of the encountering of a sniper shot hitting the player. I let the player feel the tension boiling up as the conversation goes on. I let the player experience a new thing. A new character appears in the conversation that only the player character knows about, but not the player himself or herself. This is to leave the player while unrolling the credits with a sense of cliffhanger and wanting to know more what is going to happen next, because of the sudden rush of feelings of I thought the game was over. So in contrary to that, if the player chooses to stay for a bit longer, the tension rises up slowly as the player gets to know more of the story. Eventually, when the player leaves the room, they feel a bit unsafe, like something is wrong, which leads to the betrayal event. This would make the player get a feeling of I knew it, leaving the player a sense of revenge feeling after the credit rolls, and they notice the cliffhanger in the story. So depending on what outcome the player shows there, they end up with different feelings and different experience. From this project, I learned a lot. I feel like I have a better hang on scoping a level. And also, I learned a new engine, the Shadowrun editor, from scratch. And it took me a while, but eventually I found out most of the things. And I noticed how much I could actually bend and twist and make so the level designs actually coexisted with the story. I hope you have enjoyed this video on what I was thinking on as I was going through the level design of this level. Thank you for watching.